all I can give. But I didn't have enough time in the day to give you the other parts that I would have given you had it been under other conditions. But if you went to school, you got like basically everything that you want. Libraries, different types of educators, lots of resources, different material that you wouldn't even be exposed to. Look what I got, okay? I got good stuff, yeah. But is this the whole volume sets of that? Is that the whole volume sets of that? Are there any other books that might be even more deeper for you to go into? That'll bring you more closer to what it is you're trying to go through, you know what I'm saying? So that's what's important for going to school, you know, and then you got more critical thinking. You know, I mean, you can get into serious political debates, economic, religious debates, you know what I'm saying? Social debates. Whereas you said, I never thought about it that way. Or you listening to a debate, and he said, hold up, that opened up the other door. You've been thinking about something similar to that, but he just really clarified it by making that statement. See what I'm saying? But when you're in these small environments, you know, that's the problem that we have in our community. Our community is not exposed to much. We're only exposed to, the basics. Reading, writing, math, and all that. We don't even get no arts anymore. You know, you don't go to school to get arts and crafts. See what I'm saying? Because your artists in school are the ones who become your engineers and stuff like that. See what I'm saying? The creative thinkers. You're doing art and sculpture. I remember when I was in school, doing clay and on the wheel, and you know what I'm saying? We had printing class, putting things together, doing the printing board and the ink, and you know, you had all of that. You had wood class. You got that no more in school. Guys are not getting that.
You have to go to technical school for that.
Right. So, but why? I got that in junior high school. Why they don't get that now?
Funding and cuts, budget cuts.
That's not true. Stop the stimulation of growth of certain ideas. You stop those things by not exposing the people to those things and then never think about it. You read Willie Lynch, didn't you?
I really want you to hear.
Okay. Did you read the other part, The Making of the Slave?
Yeah.
Do you understand it?
The whole thing? I mean...
That's short. It ain't that long. Look for these words, reversal of the mind. Because that's how he was successful. Then after you find those words, reversal of the mind, look for how Willie Lynch talked about this hiccup in their system, that this system of slavery will last forever. Except, it says our leaders, our scholars and our main thinkers have told us that this is the only thing that can cause a problem. This is the only thing where the mind has a tendency of correcting and recorrecting itself if it comes across some historical facts. You see? And if it comes across these historical facts, it has a tendency of, it's like a computer, resetting the, computer, let's say you got knocked off, all right, and you're trying to get up and everything, you're like, let me reset this back to a later date before this new information came in. Bring it back to its original. When you buy your computer, let's say you put a lot of different programs in, they say, look here, it ain't going to work like this because this bug here, but what I can do is I can take it back to its original. Okay, when it goes back to its original, then it will function again. But you won't have this information there because it's a bug in there anyway. So you reverse it back to the original. When you get the original, everything is working again. That means all that other stuff is gone. And that's the thing, reversing it back to those historical facts. That's why we need to understand the Negro, the black, the colored, even the term Puerto Rican and or Indian, Jamaican, all of those terms are fictitious. And what they do is keep us in the economic and social trap. You know that from the Moorish Quran also. It tells you about all of these in South America. These are Muslims. You see what I'm saying? It goes all the way back and then it takes you all the way to any other country. All these people, how we are connected to the human families of nations, you know? I want to fix this delineation. That's not right. I didn't spell that right. It's delineation. I want to make sure I got that word right there before we go a little further. It's a D-E-L. I think it's D-I-L. Think so?
Yeah, D-E sounds right.
D-E sounds right? D-E-L, D-E-L, D-E-J, D-E-L. I know delinquent, delinquency, deliberate, deliberate delegation, no delineation. Delinquent taxes, de minimis, no delineation. Demarcation, delineation, I need that word right. Delineation. You can delineation.
I think it's an E. I believe an E goes there. Delineation. E-A-T-I-O-N.
Delineation, there it is. Scope and delineation
Of the legislative
intent. And most importantly,
the object had in mind. So, object had in mind. Which will be equal to its purpose.
That's the key in dealing with any aspect of law when addressing any legal matter. That's why we study the legislation, not just case law, but you study legislation, constitution, other supplementaries such as other texts, and things of that nature. So, the scope and delineation of the legislative intent and the object had in mind, which is the purpose when these terms was created. Okay? Okay? These terms. Well, there's only one term. It's not these terms. It's only one term. Person. And the reason why there's no need to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff is because this word right now is a big headache. The word person in Black's law leads us to a whole bunch of things. M-N-O-P-P-E-R. Person, personal, personal greed, permit, person, per se violation, protected person, unborn, illegitimate child, bankruptcy, person. You know it's about the word person. You're going to find a lot about bankruptcy when you deal with the word person. The word person in general. In general uses, a human being. In general usage, a human being. Okay? Though by statute, term may include, okay? So when they dealing with this term, because it's dealing with the scope and the delineation, it's very important to understand. Like it says here, though by statute the term may include. Though by statute it may include. Now, statutes are not always lawfully made. Statutes are made with law in mind, not to say that the law is not in mind, but the act that created the legislation and then the statute didn't pertain to law. But to some extent it did deal with law, but the law of another people to keep other people to be excluded from them in certain areas of their lives, of life. When these laws was created, they wasn't created for our economic and social attraction, it was for their economic and social attraction. So if the history from it deals with their economic and social attraction, although you're in the modern day and age, it's still the economic and social attraction. It's still nothing to do with you. Right? Or you say yes. What would you say? If in the past something was created for another people's economic and social attraction and now you're involved, do it pertains to you? Just because they passed a special law to say that you are now, it says equal protection for citizens and persons.
But it was treated for them.
Right. But then they passed the law later on. It said for...
To include me.
Right. So, but how could you really be included if they didn't do it the proper way that the Constitution says it should have been done? See, we ain't trying to step outside the Constitution. Right? The prophet says you got to obey the government. It says you're a part and partial, right? Is it part and parcel, part or part and partial?
Partial.
Right. P-A-R.
C-E-R.
Right. Parcel, right. So that's talking about land. But you don't see that. But it shows, but if you're part and parcel, what article is that in the Divine Constitution? That's the 4th article in the Divine Constitution, right? And at the same time, too, he said we are part and parcel, and then in Section 2 of Article 4 of the Constitution, it talks about the citizens of each state shall be entitled to all the privileges and immunities of the citizens of the several states. So I'm kind of leaning toward that, huh? Showing that we got 7 articles, they got 7 articles. Looking at the history. Now this was established because we gave them the authority and the power to do what they have done so far. But at the same time, there's a twist in there. We're not going to go there right now because we want to stay here with this so we can have a clear understanding where the trick lies at. So when we're looking at this person, we see from this Black's Law Dictionary, it said it may include, okay, and including those other things, labor organizations, partnerships, associations, corporations, legal representative, trustees in bankruptcy or receivership. So that's what a person is. If you look up in New York State law, under executive law, it'll also say what a person is. Executive law says a person in bankruptcy, labor organization, what may have you. But automatically it said a person in bankruptcy. Something to think about. Because when you're looking at this person, let's say, and let's say a legal matter takes place, okay. His name is not this. His name is this. Or excuse me, all capital. His name is this. Because he's a corporation. When they created this term, it was for this guy. Or it was going to make this guy turn into this guy. You're going to turn into that person anyway. But we got to get to the bottom of the person. Now, at the last video, we went into the term person, and the term person applied to slaves. No one else. The term person when used before did not apply to slaves. But we have to look at, like I said, it depends on who you're talking to, at what time, and what school of thought they are when you're dealing with different levels of education and information, how you would divulge certain things based upon his level to meet back with you on the same. If he could not meet you on that same level, then you don't want to go and give him that because it's above his head. And you don't want to do that. And the same as if you're up here or high with someone, you want to stay there where you can communicate. We understand the same language. So this is all of this stuff here when it's created, it deals with language. They talk about the scope, the nature, and source. See, Now, it's not just the person here. Now, the nature and source of the authority that created this person was the legislature. But what nature does it come from? You see? The nature and source of this type of legislation. It was created for a particular group of mixed people within inside of a society, okay, in order to keep them in check. Criminally. Although we have made them citizens, as they say. So, in dealing with that word person, we're dealing with the scope and delineation behind is equivalent to, I'm going to take that off the board. The word person is dealing with, is equal to slaves. Slaves. It's dealing, the word person is equal to slaves. What proof is that? The proof behind the word person is equal to slaves is through House Resolution 48. I gotta get a better marker. Let me get a better marker here. This black one is going down. Oh man. Go ahead. And let me get a better marker. House. Peace. Resolution. (48). This was done by Mr. Bingham. Mr. Bingham. Oh, Bingham. This is by Mr. Bingham. He was a congressman. A senator. Mr. Bingham. Okay? That was done by Mr. Bingham. House Joint 48. HR 48 is what it's called. HR 48. What is that? 1860s? I need to bring more chairs too. Okay. So, House 48 and Mr. Bingham is the forerunner to the 14th Amendment. Okay? This is the forerunner of the 14th Amendment. Because this person could not be made a citizen at that time, although he was emancipated. He couldn't be made a citizen. So because he couldn't be made a citizen, they had to get another, they had to pass a bill. So Mr. Bingham came to Congress and says, hey, if you pass this bill, we can enlarge this power. Remember, all this was also because of the war and everything that had taken place. So in order to get the equal representation, remember it's 3/5 of, remember our people was excluded, 3/5 of all others. However, it's about the representation inside of the states, you talk about the whole persons. So how do you take 3/5 of a person and make him a whole person? So we got to think about that kind of stuff there, see? So, House Joint 48 was the forerunner of the 14th Amendment that stated that all persons born and naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States and where they reside. I'm going to read it. I want to go directly from the constitutional book itself. But in sticking with this person, you're going to see a whole lot of problems here. Amendment 14. It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside, and no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property. Now, you got to look at these words clear. Watch, we're going to go backwards again. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to their jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States, little c, of the United States, and of the states wherein they reside. Okay? And no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States. Nor, listen to my words, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process. So you know, this is a tricky legislation here, a very tricky one. And what makes it tricky is this, because the word person had to do with House Joint Resolution 48 that took slaves and made them persons in order to be included inside a territorial venue that was created for them. And in putting them within that, then it defined them by its debates in Congress between the word persons and citizens. Because citizens already have those rights. But then when they included those persons, that's why it says citizens and persons. See? Citizens and persons. Because we could not be, those of us who accept that history, that's garbage history. That history is false. Let me show you why it's false too. So, in understanding this, these persons that were slaves, if you go get into this, in order for you to find House Resolution 48, you can find it in the Annals of Congress. Okay? And that's where a lot of the debates and everything took place at. But we're going to touch on this person that they're talking about and why it can't be you. Let's look at who this person is. Now, you know, a lot of people want to go with the claim African. We know, Prophet even teaches us, we're not Africans, we're Moors. African is a name that came from Scipio Africanus, who was a Roman general. Okay, when they overthrew Carthage. Rome allowed him to do that in honor. Okay, so that name does not apply to our people either. We got much more ancient names like Akabuku land, Amexim, and the other terms that are used in history. Right, Akiba land. Right, see what I'm saying? Right. So all of this is ours anyway, see what I'm saying? We just got to come into it. But understanding why this person here, we're going to go to the legislation and who is it talking about. I'm going to go to, this is a Congressional Globe. I'll give this out the next time at the class day, but what I wanted you to do, because of the last time I explained how the House Joint Resolution actually was applying to those persons who was considered slaves. Now we're going to take it further and show you when they made this law what they think of them. You ain't like this. It says, we have to remember, on the other hand, the Negro equality does not exist in nature. The African is without a history. Yeah, check it out, man. Check this out. He has never himself shown himself capable of self-government by the creation of a single independent state possessing the attributes which challenge the respect of others. This is deep. The past is silent of any Negro people who possessed military and civil organization, who cultivated the arts at home, or conducted a regular commerce with their neighbors. No African general has marched south of the desert from the waters of the Nile to the Niger and Senegal to unite by conquest the scattered territories of barbarous tribes into one great and homogeneous kingdom. No Moses, no Solomon, no Ligurus, no Alfred have left them a code of wise and salutary laws. They have had no builders of cities. They have no representatives in the arts, in science, or in literature. they have been without even a monument, an alphabet, or hieroglyphics. I ain't got to read no more, do I? Are they talking about Moors or are they talking about niggas, man? You see? You see the difference? That's a big difference. That's why the House Joint 48 had all this falls, and this is where the problem is at. But we ain't looking at it from that perspective. We're just going in there saying, I'm not that person because it's in all capitals. Well, if it's in all capitals, move the court by motion. Say, Your Honor, with all due respect, it's not my proper appellation. It's a corporate status. All right, I moved the court to change it to my proper appellation before the court can proceed any further. That is put in its proper uppercase and lowercase wording. Once they do that, now you're in your standing. Now you object again still, because now you're more proper than you was before. Okay? So when we're dealing with this 14th Amendment thing, we'll see where this problem is at. I want to go deep. I want to go further with the person. And then I'm going to come backwards. There's a lot of different cases and stuff, you know. But we're going to go back. I'm going to go again with the person over here on Ellen Van Valkenburg versus Brown. Which, all of the patriots would love this case right here. The European groups that's out there, they love this kind of case right here. Because this is the truth, and this is where the problem is at. The Moors are, or not just the Moors, but all of the other groups are trying to fight from the patriotic perspective. But the patriots are the guys that say that I'm a state citizen. What more can claim to be a citizen of the state? Or anything that's not European, how can you claim to be a citizen of the state when that's only for their economic and social attraction? You see what I'm saying? And then since the time that our people have been somewhat, quote-unquote, so-called inclusive, naturalization process is no longer in the state courts. You got to go down to the United States. They took that over when they ceded. Okay, once they created the 13th and 14th Amendment. Rather than 14th Amendment, they changed everything. Naturalization was now in the feds, not no longer in the states. But we want to go into this person that they're talking about again. But I'll let I'm gonna let you guys check it out and read it for yourself, so you can see. What it's talking about. Okay. Okay. Oh, it's double sided. So, 14th Amendment. Okay. Read. I want to let you read for me, sis. You want to read for me? Read number 1 until it finishes.
Okay.
I need you to read it loud so it can be heard.
Okay. It is claimed that the plaintiff is a citizen of the United States and of this state. Undoubtedly she is, and it is argued that she became such by force of the first section of the 14th Amendment already recited. This, however, is a mistake, and it could be as well be claimed that she became free by the effect of the 13th Amendment, by which slavery was abolished, for she is no less a citizen, 47, than she is free before the adaptation of either of these amendments. No white person born within the limits...
Say that again. Say that loud.
Double sentence?
Yeah, no white person born where?
Oh, no white person born within the limits of the United States and subject of their jurisdiction, or born without those limits and subjectively naturalized under their laws, hold the status of citizenship to the recent amendments of the federal Constitution. The history and aim of the 14th Amendment is well known, and the purpose had in view its adaptation well understood. That purpose was to confer the status of the citizenship upon the numerous class of persons domiciled within the limits of the United States who could not be brought within the operation of the naturalization laws because of the native born, and thus birth through native had at the same time left them without the status of citizenship. These persons were not white persons, but were in the main persons of African descent who had been held in slavery in this country or if having themselves never been in slavery were the native-born descendants of slaves. Prior to the adaptation of the 14th Amendment, it was settled that neither slave nor those who had been such, nor the descendants of those through native or freeborn, were capable of being citizens of the United States. Dred Scott versus Stanford, 19. The 13th Amendment, through conferring the boon of freedom through the native-born persons of African blood, had yet left them under the insuperable bear of as to citizenship, and it was mainly to remedy this condition that the 14th Amendment had adopted.
Okay, so they adopted the 14th Amendment to remedy a condition that had taken place for the people who they stated that it left them without citizenship, although they were native, although native born, it left them without citizenship. How could you be native born and be left without citizenship when the United States has a uniform system of naturalization? How did that happen? You see, this is where the trick is at. How do you have a uniform system of naturalization, but yet this particular group is left outside of it, and the laws, a special law is created with the scope and delineation to remedy that problem. That's why they call it the boon of freedom, like Daniel Boone, you know, with the Davy Crockett and all that stuff with that little tail. You know, a little something like that. So it's interesting where they're coming from with this here. So understanding their position puts your mindset in the position of how it is, how you want to write and attack the problem with regards to you being the person within the scope and delineation of that statute. But you first need to understand how it's created, who it's talking about. In order for you, it's like if you don't know who your enemy is, then how are you going to stop him from doing what he's trying to do to you? See what I'm saying? So now we're going to go another place. Let's see what year is this here. Because that was 1872 with a positive analyst on that case. And this is another positive analyst on this case. I'm going to let you read this one here. This is the state versus Noosa. And this one here, this is dealing with the right to bear arms case. Okay? And it was the brother who got caught with who had a gun. They called him a free person of color. That's another trick. Free person of color. That's another trick. Free person of color is a Negro. You know what I'm saying? If you go back to the Southern Free Moors Act of 1790, remember they stated we don't even want to be tried under the magistrate code for free people, for free blacks or people of color. That they want to be tried as Moors, okay? If they're to be amenable to any law within the state, be Moors and subjects of a foreign prince in the United States, even if they stayed here. Now, and they did stay. In here, I'm going to let you read this part right here. These are different head notes, but I want to find them in here. I'm just going to read out the head notes, but I got to find the thing. It talks about free people of color in this state are not to be considered as citizens in the largest sense of the term. You heard? I said the term. You got me? In the largest sense of the term. Or if they are, they occupy such a position in society as justifies the legislator in adopting a course of policy in its peculiar acts peculiar to them. So again, when they're making all of those penal statutes, it's for the protection of one against the other. It's not for everybody to be, let's all get along, this equality. Can't be none. That's why it was a special law created for persons who were amongst the citizens. Because there was a mixed group of people. So the legislators thought to legislate for that group too, being that they are here. So it tells you here that they are, if they do occupy a position in society as justified the legislature in adopting a course of policy in its acts peculiar to them, so that they do not violate those great principles of justice which lie at the foundation of all laws. So if they're legislating, okay, for this particular community, and then they said they're not citizens in the full extent of the word, then it should be clear from House Joint 48, the proof behind that. And then you got case law under Ellen versus Valkenburg versus Brown, that the purpose of the 14th Amendment was to confer because although they was native, it left them without. How could you be a native and be left without? Are you an Indian? Then that's a different scenario. If an Indian, okay, let's say an Indian is in the United States, and then you have those Europeans who were citizens at the time, and the Indian said that, okay, I want to leave my Indian tribe and I want to join, I want to be a citizen of the United States. No, they have to accept you first. You know why? Because there has been a case where that did happen. Elks versus Wilkes, where he was an Indian who stated that he was thrown off his Indian status. But the United States said, well, we didn't even accept you as one of us, so for you to make that claim, because, okay, you stop living amongst the Indians, you start living the way the white man lived, and doing the things that the white man lived, consider yourself, quote-unquote, civilized now. He said, well, I'm a citizen of the United States because of all these different acts that I've done that shows my intentions. He said, yeah, you may have done those acts, and you may have had those intentions, but we never accepted you. Okay, now, you said we never accepted you, then how the heck did you take these other people and say, all right, come on, my nigga, I got your back, after slavery emancipation proclamation? Where did that come from? They was free, they roamed this place, they didn't have nothing, they was no different than the Indian, excluded. But then this guy said, okay, well, go back to your own people. They didn't know which way to go. They were supposed to go back to their own land, take their own name, claim their own land, okay, and go back to their own, with the ways of their own forefathers. But they didn't do that. So they kept hanging around. So the Europeans says, okay, let's create another law. Because they don't have any rights in our courts. They just running around the place. I got you, my nigga. Create the 14th Amendment. And that's where the trick came in at. Because what did you consent to? But yet you make laws that states that unless you consent to something, you can't be a party to that type of a contract. Okay? But when it came to that group of people who was considered Africans, is when you did that. So that means we need to consider, what the heck is this African thing? That's the problem. It says, why does the devil call our people Africans? He wants us to think that we are all different. Keep us divided. So, that's come from Elijah Muhammad, or the lessons from the Father. Okay? We're not talking about the other historical aspects of why the European call, or why the devil call our people Africans. You see? Because you see that division when he does that, because he plays a color game. Okay, with our people. See what I'm saying? So we need to understand it's the same thing why he called each and every situation that we be finding ourselves in, when we get divided through his system of divide and conquer. You got Dominicans, you got Puerto Ricans, you got Haitians, you got Dominica. You got people right next door to one another. Oh, I'm not that. You're the same exact people. You cross the street. What the difference is? I'm going to look at him, I see you over there, I see you over here, and him over there. What are you talking about? You're all one people here. But they divided it up that way by the creation of political things, as well as coming in between them in their history and rewriting it for them, as well as rewriting history by doing certain conditions and placing the slaves status upon these people here, taking all their books and burning all their things. So, at least the next 30-year generation, if you do have anybody that's educated there, take him and kill him. He knows he's smart, he's intelligent, and they all respect him. Let's say the first shipment of what I'm playing with here. You guys are smart. He's educated, this, that, and the third. They got 30 other ones, women and children, you know, and men, but they don't got no brains like this guy over here. He's kind of smart, and even her, she might be a little bit smart too. Okay, so in order for us to keep these guys under control, we're telling y'all that y'all can't be doing this, that, and the third. They say, well, you know, they're still speaking their own language and doing what they want to do. So, you know what? Tie him up. Get a horse. Leg over there, leg over there, arm over here. See? I didn't say tie one of them up. Okay? I'm talking about him who's uneducated, who's amongst them. Because he's not effective. They all look to you. Oh my God. We go to him because he was our doctor at home. He's the witch doctor or whatever. They don't know. You know what I'm saying? Or he's our prince and, you know, they don't know. They just know that they respect him. Rip him apart so we can take control over them. So now, when they do you, she in turn is going to take the son and says, oh, I got to protect him so that this doesn't happen again. She know why he got ripped. Because he's the doctor. He's smart. You ain't going to be raised to be smart. Because if you do get that way, you're going to die like him. So I'm not going to raise him that way. I'm going to raise him differently. I'm going to reverse everything now. You see? So now even when I have my son, I'm protecting him. Now I just had a daughter. My daughter's going to be over my son. Because it's a reversal thing here now. Right. You see? And this has been going on ever since back then. And that's why a lot of our sisters used to be like, I don't need you. Only thing I need you for is this, that, and the third. You can just step off, son. You know, drop the baby off or drop whatever else you drop it off. You know what I'm saying? But that's the wrong mentality, said. That's because of the reversal of the mind. So we don't see the union that we're supposed to have and how we're supposed to share this balance of power in the family structure. You know, like it was before. I go do that other part while she maintained the domestic parts. Take care of the household and the whole 9 yards. That's what Prophet Noble Dwali says. He said, he even says it in his teaching. If you love Jesus, he said, these teachings are good for you. It helps you set your house in order. Now, what's your house? What's your house? Set your house in order. These are moral principles. You see? From knowledge to born and born back to knowledge. These are moral principles. Connect them. Keep the moral code of conduct. And then you start to, this house that's in order, people will see it and they deal with you accordingly. How is that they know that you know? Because you're walking that walk, not just talking that talk. They see it in you. It's all in your face. It's all in your mind. It's all in your expression. You know, they want to come to you and get this information because they know that you know who you are. So that's what's great about all of this here that we have here. And if you have any other problems with that, this book helps you erase those problems. You got a weakness going on. Erase that problem. You got vanity going on because you're too damn proud and got too much. I got this and I got that. So just look at me because I'm all that. You need to fix that. Why? Because you'll get brought to your knees. That's why I tell you, don't be like those who debase themselves or bruise themselves by climbing. Because you can fall down by being too proud. You don't want to be that way. Humble yourself. That's why it says, know thyself. That's all we want to do. Know thyself. I don't need to know you. If I know me, I know you. Because you're a reflection in the mirror to me. She's a reflection into me. He's a reflection. Everybody, we are reflections of one another. Because we're in that one thing here. Yeah, I left that paper too. That showed that love too.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Yes, yes. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice that the prophet had shows how it is inside the principles of the Constitution. Alright? And how it is that they set up, their thing was based upon our thing. But it's us having the moral application. See what I'm saying? But you know, that's why, you know, you gotta love what he says. I mean, when you look at even the instructions, it says, a man can't gain the highest degree of spirituality if he's at an economic and social disadvantage. Right or wrong? Because you're always worried about, I got to go do this and I got to go do that. Okay, then how do you get past that? See? Because you're going to always, till you leave this planet, like they always say, what's the thing most people be saying? So 2 days you got to look forward to, death and taxes. That's a lie. I mean, death, yeah. Not even death. You know? But they said death and taxes, that's one thing that's guaranteed. You won't pay them taxes, brothers. You definitely got to leave here one day. So, you know, we want to talk about what's real about this life here. Right here, we're talking about in the preambles of the Constitution. We got love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Over here on love, they got promote the general welfare. Okay? Love is indestructibility. You can't destroy love. Truth, you got provided for the common defense. That's still truth. Peace is to ensure domestic tranquility. That's foreknowledge. You know what's right and wrong. You know to keep the peace. Freedom, to secure the blessings of liberty of ourselves and our posterity. That's eternal life. And justice, establish justice, forethought. You know, A lot of things that they do, this has already been established. We've done this here. See what I'm saying? And it done raised them up, but we was at even a higher state than they are. You see? But, you know, that's how things go here. But I want to stick to this term person. And now I'm going to show you even what the prophet had to say regarding the 14th and 15th Amendment. How it ain't no good for his people. Come on. I think it's the divine warning to all the nations. No, what should we call it? Yeah. Divine warning. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all one family, bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people who violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles which allude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God, Allah, to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers, divine and national principles. It said divine principles and national principles, that they would be law-abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens. Now hold on. It said receive their divine rights. How do you get divine rights as citizens? Is that something we need to discuss at another time or what? Divine rights as citizens. Divine and national principles. But that citizenship is divine. And they will be law-abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. If you got a divine constitution and bylaws, you should know what I'm saying. There is but one issue for them to recognize by this government and the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the more divine and national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. It says that the divine national movement is incorporated into this government. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just reading something before I got over here in regards to the prophet going to, I think, Calvin Coolidge, and it specifically says that he asked the president for divine rights, the highest authority in the land, to call to his people and teach the principles of the ancient forefathers.
And was it Calvin Coolidge?
Yeah, that's Calvin Coolidge, yeah, in 1925.
That's peace. That's real peace. So that goes to show you how, you know, where the legitimacy of his authority, where he went to and how he set up what he did set up. It says that they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, and that they can cast a free national ballot at the poll under the free national constitution of the state government, and not under the granted privileges as have been existing conditions for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials of your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of the darkness into light. Money doesn't make a man. It's free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments is gold and silver, and commerce belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principle, you do not have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all the support from true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I'm depending upon your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national Constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mind back to their own national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced amongst all American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there, he is asked for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principle. Because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name. Because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro alludes to the Latin language, the word nigger. The same as the word colored alludes to anything that is painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. And every nation must bear a national name and descent of their forefathers, because honor thy father and thy mother, your days will be long lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are by the said national government in which they live. The 14th and the 15th Amendment brought the North and the South in union, placing the Southerners who were at the time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men free and equal. And if all men are declared free and equal, if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendment for the salvation of our people and citizens. So even then, he was aware that they was using it for the white man. He said, our people and citizens. Because remember, in the 14th Amendment, they said citizens and persons. So even they got jammed up with it. And he knew in 1928 that that was wrong. Check that one out. So at least when we know the source of where something comes from, it's much easier for us to adjust ourselves and address the matter and then clear up the problem. But again, in order to clear this thing up, writing has everything to do with it. 90% of this is writing. I say 90%, 50% writing, and the other half is thinking. No, writing is everything. Because if you can't express yourself in paper, how do you expect to get across to most of the issues that we run across and deal with? You're not most of the time, unless it's a civil matter, you're not going to always get an opportunity to orally express yourself. So that means that your writing is proper. At least that's enough to keep you climbing till you can get out and have you keep going up. Because sometimes they don't want to hear certain things. Why? Because it offends them. Or they don't want somebody else to hear it in the public. So that's why they hold us for last and things of that nature. Right? Because they don't want us to express ourselves. That's really that's article on First Amendment. That's freedom of expression. You have a right to express who you are. You have a right to state that I'm a Moor and I belong to a Moorish Science Temple of America. You have that right to say that. And that or this court doesn't have any jurisdiction over me. So what I said something that might be offensive, that you may feel offensive or want to attack it. It's not enough for you to prohibit that speech and tell me, hey, well, I'm not recognizing that talk that you're talking in here. And we're going to, you know what, you're a U.S. citizen, and we're going to remand him. You know what, remand him. No court days in 30 days. He says, I object to the court's jurisdiction, stating that I'm a free Moorish national and my status can be found in foreign treaties at large in page 100 to 105 and pages 487 to 44 to 487. He says, that doesn't, look, I don't want to hear that gibberish stuff you're talking around here. It doesn't make sense. It's frivolous. No, we don't recognize that. He overstepped his boundary line. Okay? Because the claim that was made, remember, everything that's based upon what Prophet Noble Ali, although it's based upon you talking about your nationality, it began with what? Your religion, Islam. First Amendment, expression. So, let's go there now. So we can see what his problem is at here. Because we're trying to get out of this person guy. Otherwise, we can't get out of there. So we did see that, to some extent, on the person. I gave you the document. I gave you any document to read? Did you read that yet?
Yeah, I'm supposed to.
Okay, hold on for 1 second. Let me get that back for 1 second. Let me show you something. There's a point in there. Oh, no, that's for you. No, that's something different. No, that's not the one. That's yours. I want you to see where... Right here. Okay. I want you to read... Let me see if we can get this from here. I want to make it easy. Head note number 2. That's right there. And just go down to the end, as far as you can go down. So you'll see what we're talking about here.
The Act of 1840 imposes upon free men of color a restriction in the carrying of firearms from which the white men of the country are exempt.
Say that loud again? I didn't hear that. Say that out loud.
From which the white men of the country are exempt.
Okay.
Is this a violation of the 3rd article in spirit? Or is it such a capable violation as will authorize the court to declare it void? If so, then is the whole of our legislation upon the subject of free Negroes void? From the earliest period of our history, free people of color have been amongst us as a separate and distinct class, requiring from necessity, in many cases, separate and distinct legislation.
Hold up. What the word you just used? You used the N. What that word is?
Distinct.
Necessity. By necessity. Right?
Legislation.
That has a lot to do with law. By necessity, let's say we didn't have any food. The children was hungry. Just lost my job. I didn't want to steal this. There's a fence over there. We brought some food. I hopped over the fence, took the vegetables and brought it back home and I fed my people. Later on, I got arrested. Said for theft. Okay? So now they said that I stole some food and I went over somebody and I trespassed against them and I stole something. And they said, well, how do you plead? I said, well, I don't plead. I have an alibi. It was by necessity is why I did that. In order to my justification is that my babies were hungry. Now, I'm not stating that I did something right, but I said, if I didn't do what I had done to and fed my children, then they would have been very hungry. So my actions are justified by necessity. However, you can do what you want with me. See what I'm saying? So now you have the mercy of the court maybe on the side. Because of the truth of the matter. We're dealing with the facts and the truth. But all this also has a lot to do with us being able to write those persuasive arguments that deals with the clarity of the law and the truth of the matter. Not that you're getting slick, because you ain't going to get slick in justice and in truth. That's why when you go to court, tell the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. Don't sit there and jam yourself up telling the half-truth. Because now, because you told half-truth, I'm going to get the other side. Or because you didn't tell them to me, I know what does exist because you kept that part away from me. So I'm still going to get you for it. So you're not trying to hide anything when you go up in there. But they're just giving you a somewhat scenario. So, they have things called justification. when you do certain acts that may be considered criminal. All right, but then if the justification in all of the elements are proven that it is a justification by the act that which you was committed, then you're exonerated or you're acquitted, and you can't be charged by that. See what I'm saying? But we got to understand that, how to read between the lines too. Something can happen. I mean, we could be, let's say, I'm just with her and we're talking and, Islam, good to see you, blah, blah, blah. We're talking and, somebody just come out of nowhere and just start calling her or whatever. And I'm talking, he just came to swing on her. Woof! And I got in between it. And I tore him up. And I made a mistake and I killed him. I'm going to jail for it. You know that. Do I have an alibi for it? It was instantaneous. See? It was instantaneous. It wasn't premeditative. Okay? I'm locked up. You know that. He's dead. But what's my... Oh, do I say? You don't have any jurisdictions over me. Do I do that? What do I do? What do I do with the matter like it is? You see, this is what I'm saying. We got to keep it real. See what I'm saying? I did what I had to do for her. I had to. Why? Because she would have been harmed. So there's a section of the law called Article 35 on the justification. Justification is dealing with deadly force in the defense of another. You see what I'm saying? Then lethal force in the defense of another. But it's now the act that took place, okay, most likely she's going to be a witness and she has to describe all of the things that took place. Prosecutors willing to prosecute me, and I got a defense, either I'm on my own or I got a defense attorney. This is serious. This is not a game. This is not traffic matter. This is one of those, you want to walk up in there, I don't have any jurisdictions over you. You better really know what you're talking about, because this is not a game. And that's why I teach the way I teach, because I want you to see the reality behind what this is. All right, granted, we are Moors in America. This is our government. This is our system. But this is not something that you take for granted, and just squander it like, because I am. No. You have to acquire you have to learn to acquire that knowledge and also accept the responsibility and duties as a Moor. It isn't just to be, I'm a Moor and all I got nothing but benefits. No, you got obligations and duties, my friend. And that's what you should be teaching your children too. Because in order for them to be raised up properly and have the moral fortitude that they should have, they need to be taught these principles. That's why I said, for those of you who think me and my principles, and the principles are not good for my people, go to those in City Hall and ask them. Now, why would he send you over there to them? He said the Europeans. Because they taught those type of teachings, sublime wisdom. Many of them belong to secret societies. So when you come and you start asking them certain questions, maybe you might just want to talk or say, well, I just joined this organization and, maybe you might even want to say, I was a Christian at one time, but this group here, it's a little bit different. And they was telling me that, come over here and speak to individuals such as yourself, that you have a couple of maybe 5 minutes as a senator to talk to me or legislator. And these brothers teachers here, they was telling us these are certain things that we will be learning real soon. And Jesus was the architect in this book. Now, as I just told you, I was a Christian at one time. And I didn't, I'm just looking at what they brought to me. And when you look at what they got, he talks about, and Jesus was talking about the carpenter's tools. He was talking about the hammer and the axe and the plane. And he says, all these remind me of the tools we use in the workshop of the mind, which we use to build character. You talking, this man looks at you like, yeah, brother, you are, yes. So is those good principles that you think we need to learn in the Moorish Temple of America? Sure, he's going to say yes. He knows that that's how to build his word. He's a master builder. He's a legislator. He's dealing with those same principles that we just talked about, the 5, that deals with for domestic strength, promote the general welfare. It's these principles. It's you taking that plane and smoothing out that rough edge. See what I'm saying? That's going to help you keep the rough parts out of our life, that we may have this peace and domestic tranquility, because you're stopping the ruckus from going down. So lots of different things that go with those tools that deals with society. Those are 12 different tools. Don't you got 12 different numbers on the clock from 1 through 12? You got 12 zodiacal signs. Okay, so then we got something here that we need to be paying attention to and how it actually works. So when we go to them and ask them those questions, we're not asking them because it's just some kind of, let's say, symbolic question that we don't even understand what we're saying, but we know the meaning of that tool because we see how it's given to in our organization. It talks about, it helps us to build character. And at the same time, we talk about moral fortitude, and we also teach our members how to build that up by exercising that degree of strength in their own mind to understand these principles and then demonstrate them, act them out. It says the master leaves his footprint clearly cut, so all will know and see that he went that way. Well, Prophet Noble Drew Ali already left his footprint clearly cut. We all know which way he went. We just got to go get on the same trail. When we get on the path, boom, and we start finding out all of the different points where we're going at. What's there for us? I mean, once you start walking around that circle, you start hitting certain points. There are certain marking points, demarcation lines along the way. That's why you got a circle, but you got to cross in between it. Showing you the diameter. It's breaking down to 4 cents. You got 90 degrees over here, 90 degrees over here, 90 degrees over here, 90 degrees over here. You got 3 zodiacal signs over here, 3 over here, 3 over here, 3 over here. There's so many things we can, see what I'm saying? Spiritually speaking, esoterically speaking, and literally speaking. It's so much information and education that it actually raises us up. So we can, like you said, we come in with our eyes open. Our eyes are not closed with these teachings here on how to use these tools of a master builder. You see? So all of this here is excellent for us because without this, we won't be in the position where we're supposed to be. And the reason why I say that is because you could be conscious of one thing, but if you don't have the tools to do the work. Okay, we got the job. All right. Okay, we got material. Okay. We got the men. Okay. What the tools? Well, the tools ain't here yet. Well, then, all right, well, you're supposed to be here about later on, so you need the tools. You can't get the job done. See? So that's why we got to get the tools. And these are the tools that help us build character. Before you know it, we build our society. And then we're untouchable. Same way, look at the Jewish society in Brooklyn. They even got their own police force. Think we can't do the same thing? We're Moors. We can. But I want to go, I don't want to get off the point here. I want to stick with this person thing, but I want to take us into another area here. Now you saw how it talked about how they are exempt from certain things, okay, and how quote unquote the free Negro is not. Then over here it talks about the African. How he don't even have a hieroglyphic. He don't even have an alphabet or nothing. But see, you got to look at what they're using, and that's why you can't get mad with them. The Negro has never done that. There's no Negro monument in history. It's the terms. Look at the words. Reversal of the psychology here. Just the reversal of the mind. See what I'm saying? Just like we were talking earlier. I don't know, like we talked about the sister Yafa Bay. Brothers be, man, I'm black. Well, get in the dictionary for real and look at it. Or go online and look at this sister's video. Sister's beautiful. Boy, she's in a good education. You've heard her. Sister's on the money. I give her the highest respect. I tell everybody that, because this clears up a lot of the myths and how we deal with one another. Then when we become educated, even our youth, when they become educated in the school with one another, and they have somewhat of a guiding, somewhat of a leader that's bringing them into focus with that, they start to relate to each other totally different now. There's no more disrespect too much anymore. Because they consciously see, hey, something's wrong with that picture. You know what I'm saying? Look at how they're not dealing with us like this anymore, the way that we used to. Because in class, excuse me, he says, well, from my understanding, could you get a collegiate dictionary or a Funk and Wagnall or Oxford dictionary? Could you go to page such and such? This is the class stuff. It's not like you coming into school and you bringing some Moorish information. You say, well, a man can't be black, but black is an adjective. It doesn't describe. It describes something. It doesn't identify who you are. So you explain that to the teacher. Hold up, before we even go any farther, teacher. It's not even just the adjective or how it is the scripture. Let's go to the word, and it's going to be next to it. You see any brackets there? Okay, over there, in that bracket there, it says that word, right? Let's go back to that word. That leads you back to this word, and let's start breaking it down. You say, well, black don't even mean black. Like you've been telling me, and everybody in the class, everybody. You say, who's black in here? Raise your hand. Okay, now we're going to go to the dictionaries. So now read it. It says, it means pale and bleach. Are you black anymore? Everybody like, but that's been in my face all of this time, and I never saw it. Just like the sister says, they never taught you how to read a dictionary, how to use a dictionary. And I'm saying it because I'm impressed with it. I respect the educators. You're a teacher and that knowledge is good. It don't matter who you are. I'm going to get that knowledge. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to show you that respect because you can help the community. That, like she said, I'm only here to make it clear for you. I ain't your leader. I just want to clear certain facts up for you. You figure out where you going. Just like you said, I'm just here to get the knowledge, man. I ain't here for none of that other stuff. I just want the knowledge. I figure the rest of that out on my own. And that's what it is. I ain't trying to help you figure all out either. I'm just trying to clear up some certain things here so that you don't get caught up into certain avenues. So what you doing on that block, bro? Oh, come on. Get out of that block, man. It's dangerous, man. You don't want to go there. Make a right over here. You know what I mean? So that's why they're in the alley. They got it back. Yo, come over here. What you doing over there? And I see you the next day, you got a knot on your head. What you doing on that block, bro? I told you not to be there. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that. But we're going to go here with this word here. Now, the reason why they did the person thing, as we all could see, was to jam us up. And then doing that, and then creating this person, okay, they created another law, but it never did apply to us. Now, after they did all of this here, they created the 14th Amendment as a corrective measure to correct the problem. The problem was we couldn't be brought within a citizenship venue. Am I correct? Okay, so then later on they came with another corrective measure. That corrective measure, let's say, is Resolution 75, 1933. Now, let's look at this corrective measure. It says, in the House of Representatives on April the 17th, 1933, many sons and daughters of that proud and handsome race which inspired the architecture of North Africa and carried into Spain the influence of this artistic temperament have become citizens of this nation. Hold on. Okay, let's do it again, okay? The African is without a history. He has never shown himself capable of self-government by the creation of a single independent state possessing the attributes which challenge the respect of others. Many sons and daughters of that proud and handsome race, which inspired the architecture of North Africa. Now, although we inspired the architecture of North Africa, at no time did they call us Africans. You see? They said, these Africans. The African is without a history. They don't say the African over here, they say the Moor. You see? The African is without a history. And then from the African, they go to the word Negro. Okay? It says, okay, and carrying to Spain's influence of its artistic temperament have become citizens of this nation. Okay, now, we don't see slavery in there. We don't see anything in there. But I do got some questions in my mind's eye. Okay? It said we became citizens here. This is 1933. Prophet Noble Ali said the Moorish Science Temple, 1913, 1912. 1928, got the charter. Well, he got the charter in 13, and in 28 we were registered as a religious organization, but at first it was
civic.
Right, and then it became religious. At the same time, although it became religious, whatever happened to the side that was civic? Did they abolish it? Who said it was changed? And is there any proof that it was changed? We may be operating on this side, but who said that that side was closed? You see? What you started with on that, okay, granted you changed that, but that don't mean that you closed that out. So that's where the hiccup is at. In order for you to be fully educated in the realm on which we're supposed to be educated in, should we know about the civic side? Heck yeah. Because how else do you know that you're a citizen in this government? It says you must obey the laws thereby, and you're a part and parcel. I'm going to obey a law without I don't even know what the law is. See what I'm saying? So that's why we have to learn this information that when he left us, and then also understand law. What's a civilian?
Person who's not in law enforcement.
No, person skilled in law and government. See the difference? Big difference. We always, I used to think that way too. you know, until I talked to Brother Dave one day. He said, well, he asked me, he said, well, you're a civilian? He's done as a civilian. I said, hold on, brother, you're not. Let me show you what this is. I said, get out of here. It's a person skilled in law and government, so what happened? Why none of us in society are skilled in law and government? You see, they changed those words, just like education. Got nothing to do with school. Got to do with you educating your children. Making sure that they're given the proper moral principles for them when they step out in society, when they become adults. It was all up to you. The public educational system was created from Abraham Lincoln and the slave thing. You know. But even that, I got problems with a lot of things that he had done, although I recognize what he done. And you get a chance to go online, you're going to look up Lincoln defending the black bill. All right, write that down, and you'll find that Lincoln fought for a man who was a Moor, but yet they passed a law for Negroes, blacks, and coloreds. But I want to stay on this area right here between the word person to slaves and House Resolution 48. Now, if you notice, they also, even with slaves, when they had to accept the Christian religion and everything in order to get a little bit of peace, right or wrong. The majority of Asiatics that was over here, after being defeated, accepted Christianity as their faith in order for them not to be persecuted. Would you say so? Or would you say they accepted it freely? What would you say? They accepted Christianity freely, or they accepted it out of fear? Being whipped, murdered, and killed. Okay. Now we're in modern day times. Our people are still dealing with that. Okay? Now, if you was a free person and you came over to this country, you wouldn't have to be forced to accept no religion. If you was a white, let's say you was a European and you came over here back in the early days when they was even doing slavery, and you came from France, you think you'd be forced to accept that level of religion? No. Why? Because we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator. Oh, we don't recognize them as being men. That's mules, and that's beasts of prey for the land. We work them. Those are not men. So do they have those First Amendment rights? No. They had to create some other thing to give them the civil rights that they had needed. I'm showing all of this here, or trying to locate it in our minds for a specific reason. And the reason is in law, to show the difference in the platform that both groups of people are on, okay, in their argument, because, as I said, we are dealing with the civic side, which is dealing with nationality, but it's the religion that we accepted of Islam, or Islamism, that we accepted, that from its umbrella, all other rights are connected to it. Outside of that, it would be difficult. Now, the rights that I'm making right now, I'm stating, that would be attached to it, it would be a political right. I would say it's a political right. Negro can't say he's a Moor and make all these different arguments about how the court don't have any jurisdiction over him and the court wants to shut him down because he said that. He can't make that argument. A Moor can. A Negro wouldn't do that. What else? What would he say he is? He said, I'm black. You can't do this to me. I'm a black man. Basically. Not saying that I have a national status, I have any historical records to show some kind of connection, continuity, corroborated facts that you're illegally trying me in a discriminatory way, that this law does not apply to me. Because it doesn't apply to you. So, but we're going to stay with to show how this here stuff does not apply. So, as I said, it talks about the many sons and daughters they came to America, to this. It says carrying to Spain, okay, has become citizens of this nation. Now, it says we came from the plains of Morocco, but don't say we came over here on a slave ship. Okay? This was in 1933. But my question would be, Would this be in existence? Because a lot of brothers and sisters don't talk about this here too much as far as Moorish America is. Would this be in existence if Prophet Noble Ali didn't establish the Moorish Science Temple in 28 and in 13? Huh? This is the Moorish Society of Philadelphia. This would not have been in existence. Although people are not talking about it, this would not have been in existence. And it was done by the House of Representatives. You see? So, in establishing this, it put us in modern day and times on the political footing, stepping off the 14th Amendment platform. Although Prophet Noble Ali has established for us that the 14th and 15th Amendment is not good for my people. It was never properly ratified. It was never made law. So we know that that's no good for us. But in looking at this document, we find ourselves in another situation here. Because this is what they consider corrective legislation. And what I mean by corrective is remedial. It remedies a problem. Good example. 14th Amendment. Didn't it remedy a problem? The Negroes didn't have any citizenship. They were just roaming the land because they were just free. I mean, but they ain't got no rights in the court. White man can come up and kick them in the butt. They can't do nothing about it. Kick them in the head. Get off the street, boy. Get away from our saloon and no, I ain't got no food for you. Kick him, spit on him, do whatever you want to him. He can't say, well, Sheriff, lock him up. You ain't got no rights in the states. You ain't got no rights in none of these states. So the United States came into play. And when they took over, they placed an umbrella across all of them over the states under the Commerce Clause. Because the purpose of it anyway was for money anyway. It was dealing with the constitutional body of power, but the North was losing as far as commerce is concerned. Because the South was enslaving everything and making all the money. So they had to break that system down. So they fixed them up. And they fixed them another way. So if they broke them down that way, they said, okay, we'll get you another way then. They changed the voting scheme. And in changing the voting scheme, they enlarged their power in legislation. But they have more seats now. Because they have more heads to charge from as now. They're no longer 3/5, but those are whole persons that are counting now. But they ain't got no rights around here. I'm just using those votes. So I can do what I want to do here. That enlarge their seats. It's like now they're redistricting. You've heard of that for going on around here. It allows them to get more votes when they start changing things around. So they did the same thing for the purpose of, okay, if they did us that way, okay, the union came down there and caused us to lose all these bodies, let's get them back this way. Boom, we go this way now, and ain't nothing that they can do. Okay? So they flipped the script on them that way. So it's a lot of things that we see of how things took place, but it's all as a cat and mouse game between them two playing around and using us as a pawn in the game. So that's why you don't want to be subscribing to that kind of history, because it has nothing to do with you. And if it states that no white person born within the limits or without the limits owe their citizenship status to the newly enacted amendment, well, what is a free white person? Is a free white person a Negro? What's a free white person? Is a Moor a free white person? I know Ex parte Shahi says a Moor is a free white person. So if that's the case, then shit, heck, a Moor should be able to go to court and say that the 14th Amendment don't apply. When he said, well, how? Because it don't apply to no free white person. Huh? Now, I dare the judge to say, you're black. That's called racial epithets, my friend. Can't do that. He won't do that. He's in trouble now. You go to court and you start making the claim that I'm a free white person, and I ain't subject to your jurisdiction. Some problems there. See, you're not white. You're going to 730 him probably. But if you know what you're talking about and how you say what it is that you have to say, you can't say you're not what you made the claim for. Why? Look on the federal registration. Look on the federal application form when you fill them out. It says, it asks you, when it talks about Africans, it talks about racial ethnic groups. Okay? When it talks about Latinos, it talks about another racial ethnic groups. But when it talks about white people, it says from North Africa. Those are the boxes you check. Are you racial ethnic group from those two? Or are you white from North Africa? You heard that? Now, how is that? It just said right here, sons and daughters of their proud and handsome race which inspired the architecture of North Africa. So do they really mean physically white people? Or what's going on here? You see? Some kind of game is being played here. So this person, we need to understand who he is. So going back to dealing with the house, how he was created and the scope and delineation behind it, it's very important to have that document, Resolution 75 in 1202. And my reasons is this. In the Declaration of Independence in 1776, it says, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitles them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain and unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, now, why did I say that? Let's go back to Resolution 75. Just points. You have to put them together later with the writing aspects of it that goes with this here. Resolved that this House of Representatives, commends the Moorish American Society of Philadelphia for the efficient service it has rendered the nation in bringing about a speedy and thorough Americanization of these former Moors. Americanization, not naturalization. It did Americanization of these former Moors. So we had to look that up. In order to find that, the best way to find it is a Britannica Encyclopedia. Or an Oxford Dictionary, too. Okay? Of these former Moors in accordance with the fullest. Okay, I'm going to read it back again. It says, resolved that this House commends the Moorish American Society of Philadelphia for the efficient service